All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the October 9th, 2017 City Council meeting. At this time, we would ask you to please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. There are flags in both the front and the back for your convenience. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ms. Parker, would you take the roll, please?
Atchison.
Here.
Baker.
Here.
Bird.
Here.
DeCambra.
Here.
Garcia.
Here.
Pinter.
Here.
Seitz.
And just for the record, we've received a notice short time ago that Councilor Seitz has had a family emergency and will not be able to join us tonight. Next item on the agenda is the consideration of the minutes of the preceding meeting. Mr. Baker.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that the City Council approve the minutes of the September 25th, 2017 meeting as of the presented.
I have a second? Okay, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion is carried. Ladies and gentlemen, we have about 3 presentations. We'll ask you to be a little bit patient with us while we get through these, as these are some items to recognize groups that are doing a lot of things here in our community. Mr. Baker, if you would, please, first.
I would like to have Mr. Chamberlain step really forward with all the people that you brought this evening. That's awesome. And we can have people step up on the platform in the back. And I guess it goes to prove everyone loves a birthday party.
That's right. That's right. We'll have cake, too.
Well, I have the pleasure of reading, the mayors of the proclamation honoring the 200th anniversary of the founder of the Baha'i faith, Baha'u'llah.
Very good.
Close enough. And Richard, I'd love to meet everyone here, so if you could introduce us and give us a little talk about Baha'i.
Well, I think we may just start on this end and let everyone introduce themselves.
I'm
Brian. First, Brian.
I'm Catherine Lucatelli.
This is William. I'm Amy.
Chris.
Letitia. Jules.
Joyce.
Starlet.
Julie. Rachel.
This is Ella. Cheryl. Gwen. Jaya.
Evangeline. Joe. Naveed. Kevin.
Zalara.
Thank you. I'm Rich. And I won't take too much time with this, but only once will you celebrate the birthday of the founder of your faith, at least the 200th birthday. You may celebrate every year, but you celebrate the 200th birthday only once. And we'll be celebrating the 200th birthday of Baha'u'llah, which means the glory of God, the latest messenger and founder of a new religion. Will be at the Westview Recreation Center on October 22nd. We'll be having a tea from 2 to 4, and you're all welcome to join us for that. We won't ask for money.
And it's always nice to really recognize the huge, diversity that calls west of the Minster our home. And they're joined by all kinds of other faiths, some which basically, to celebrate the founder's birthday, and others which have other anniversaries and mile markers to them, and some have been around for centuries, and others are more recent in their understanding and their realization of how they want to address life. So with that, let me read our proclamation. Whereas, whereas the Baha'i really community of Westminster, Colorado was, established in 1985, and whereas Baha'u'llah, the founder of, the Baha'i faith, brought a message of human dignity, really capacity, and oneness suited to, the requirements of really contemporary life. And October 22nd, 2017 marks the 200th anniversary of his birth. And whereas Baha'u'llah declared that humanity is one family and taught the need for really fellowship and really collaboration among the followers of all really religions, affirmed, the equality of women and men, urged, the elimination of, racism and all forms of really prejudice, called for the universal education, encouraged really moderation in extremes of poverty and wealth, and in obstructed leaders of the world to abandon their really nationalistic rivalries in favor of peace within a framework of really collective really security. And whereas since really 1985, the Baha'i really community of Westminster, Colorado, has striven to apply this vision to, the material and spiritual life of our city, collaborating with others to really promote unity, to build really community, and to serve their fellow citizens. And whereas the Baha'i of Westminster and their families, friends, neighbors, and colleagues are really commemorating this really of the centenary, along with really Baha'i across, the United States and around the world. Now, really, therefore, I, Herb Atchison, Mayor of Westminster, Colorado, and on behalf of the entire City Council and staff, do really hereby declare Sunday, October 22nd, 2017, as the really centenary of the birth of really Baha'u'llah in the city, and call upon all citizens and civic organizations to really join me in recognizing this really momentous occasion in our really community. Signed this 9th day of October, 2017, Herb Atchison, Mayor.
Thank you.
Thank you. Everyone has to see the camera.
Yep.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. You keep practicing.
Thank you.
Thank you. You bet.
If you would, please.
So, can I please have Drew Hogan and Amy Hendrickson join me up front? Hi there. Hi. Thank you. Thank you for being here tonight. Yes. Thank you. Good to see you. So I have the privilege of proclaiming National Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And I think before I do that, I wonder if either of you would like to say something about the work that you do. This is such an incredible service provided to people within the city of Westminster during some of their most challenging, darkest moments. And we're really privileged to have this. And
Thank you.
Thank
you. October is National Domestic Violence Month. It's unfortunate that we have to have an entire month to recognize domestic violence in our community. It's damaging to children, men, women, families, individuals, and it's something that we work at very hard. And I wanted to thank our council for embracing our fast-track domestic violence program. It's been in action for almost 26 years now with us, and it's been a really, really important piece of how we educate the community one by one as victims come through our courthouse and as we work with people in the community. So I just would also like to thank our officers who help us respond and help us provide dignity to those people who need it in the most very difficult times of their life. So thank you.
Yes, and all of the volunteers.
And all of our volunteers, we have 23 volunteers, we have 3 other interns, we have 5 staff members. This is not a job that's done alone. And I actually wanted to give something to council this evening. We have recently, with a collaborative effort through our Parks and Recs Department, I would like to give Adrian Newman a lot of credit for working with us for the last 18 months. We actually developed a piece that we wanted to present to you this evening. This is something that we were using with each of the crime victims as we work on scene with them. So I'll just have you pass that along. It would be a very expensive venture if we had to step outside of the city in order to make something like this happen. So we wanted to thank them for collaborating with us. But it also gives us a tool to use on scene with people at a time when they're really hard to connect the dots. We've simplified it, provide a lot of the information that we need, and it was a piece that I think would not have happened without their help. So we could not have done it alone. So it's nice that we could collaborate with other people within the city.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you for that background. I have a bit more just to add to this, some information that was in our agenda memo. Domestic Violence Awareness Month evolved from the Day of Unity held in October 1981 and was conceived by the National Coalition Against Domestic Violence. The intent was to connect advocates across the country who were working to end violence against women and their children, and it is recognized as an effort that involves the entire community. The Day of Unity soon became an entire week devoted to a range of activities conducted at the local, state, and national level. The City of Westminster is committed to taking a stand against domestic violence in our community and supports our public safety officers' response, our victim advocates, and the Westminster Municipal Code Fast Track Domestic Violence Program as an effort to uplift and provide healing avenues for victims of domestic violence. 30 years ago, in October 1987, the first Domestic Violence Awareness Month was observed. That same year marked the initiation of the first National Domestic Violence Toll-Free Hotline. In 1989, the U.S. Congress passed Public Law 101-112, designating October of that year as National Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Such legislation passed every year since, with National Coalition Against Domestic Violence providing key leadership in this effort. This year, the theme for Domestic Violence Awareness Month is Take a Stand. We as a city and a community recognize domestic violence as a social problem and are committed to taking a stand to end the cycle of violence. Since 1992, when the citizens of Colorado overwhelmingly supported a constitutional amendment guaranteeing specific rights to crime victims, the criminal justice system has acknowledged the hardships faced by victims of crime and the courage they display in overcoming those hardships. The City of Westminster has been proactive to ensure that victims of domestic violence receive support, information, and referrals to assist in their recovery and to afford them every opportunity to have input into the criminal justice system. So we have a proclamation that I'll pass on. So I'll read one more thing to you. So, whereas crime and the threat of violence have profound and devastating effects on individuals, families, and communities in America, and whereas more than 10 million women and men are physically abused by their intimate partner each year in the United States, and whereas intimate partner violence accounts for 15% of all violent crimes in the United States, and on a typical day, more than 20,000 phone calls are placed to domestic violence hotlines nationwide, and whereas intimate partner violence is the leading cause of female homicide and injury-related deaths during pregnancy, and domestic violence is the third leading cause of homelessness among families in the United States. And whereas 72% of all murder-suicides involve an intimate partner in Colorado, and 94% of the victims of these crimes are female, and domestic victimization is associated with a higher rate of depression and suicide behavior. And whereas Colorado and the nation continue to work to negate the tolerance for domestic violence in our communities and commit its collective energies to help end the cycle of violence through education, public safety response, and compassionate services to our fellow citizens and children who are impacted by domestic violence. Now, therefore, I, Herb Atchison, Mayor of the City of Westminster, Colorado, on behalf of the entire City Council and staff, do hereby proclaim the month of October 2017 as City of Westminster Domestic Violence Awareness Month, to urge the citizenry to honor crime victims and those who serve them during this month and throughout the year by continuing to fulfill the promise of justice and compassion for victims of domestic violence as individuals, as communities, and as a nation dedicated to ending domestic violence and justice for all.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Yes, I wore the right color. No, we know. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, council members. Thank you.
Hello, so I have the opportunity to present the proclamation with regard to Conflict Resolution Month with Kathleen Juby. Hello, Kathleen.
Hello.
So we do have the proclamation, but if you had some materials you wanted to share just with the public about what's going on during Conflict Resolution Month.
Yes, first of all, thank you everyone for supporting this. I really appreciate it. I think it's such an important thing to think about conflict resolution. There's many events throughout the month that you can go to the Conflict Resolution Month website and check out. There's also a movie every year. There's a book, which I brought a book for you guys. This one's called Difficult Conversations, and it gives really great tools and really great skills on how to work through difficult conversations. Because a few years ago, I was approached by someone saying, "What do you think is the biggest problem in America today?" And I said, "Interpersonal skills." And they stared at me like I had 3 heads. But how are we going to solve the bigger problems of taxes and education and healthcare reform if we can't work together and solve our problems? So this is a really great book. I recommend it for everyone to help you work through difficult problems at work and your personal life. And I challenge everyone to think about how we interact with people, especially when we're upset or angry. So this gives some great skills. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. We'll all pass it along in turn. It'll give us great cooperative opportunity to share the book. So, whereas conflict resolution encompasses mediation, arbitration, facilitation, collaborative decision-making, restorative processes, and other responses to differences, and whereas conflict resolution processes empower individuals, families, communities, organizations, and businesses to foster communication and devise solutions that are acceptable to the needs and interests of all parties involved, and whereas conflict resolution is taught and practiced by citizens in many school systems, universities, and graduate programs throughout Colorado and the world as a way of solving disputes, and whereas community-based programs fairly and equitably resolve neighborhoods and community conflicts, thereby strengthening relationships, and whereas professional associations of conflict mediators promote peaceful and creative resolutions to disputes. Now, therefore, I, Herb Atchison, Mayor of Westminster, Colorado, on behalf of the entire council and staff, do hereby declare the month of October to be Conflict Resolution Month in the city of Westminster and call upon all citizens to promote use of productive conflict resolution in their community. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, you take it.
Awesome, thank you.
At this point on the agenda, this is a time that we open up the floor and the microphone to those who wish to come before council for a period of up to 5 minutes on any item that you wish to talk about, unless there is a public hearing scheduled on it later. And we do have one public hearing, and that is on the General Improvement District, so if you have comments on that, please hold that until later. The other thing we would ask you to do is maintain the 5 minutes. If you haven't been up and done this before, when you come to the podium, pull the mic down so it fits in front of your face. Stay close to the microphone. The green light will come on once you've identified yourself and your address. The green one will shine until you have 1 minute left, and then the yellow one will come on. At the end of your 5 minutes, the red one will come on. We ask you to stop at that time. So the only one I have that has signed up previously to this is earning points. Mr. Points, if you would, please.
Good evening. My name is Arnie Points. I live over in the Countryside neighborhood, and I have had a bit of a problem with utilities. I'm lucky enough to have power boxes for both XL and CenturyLink in my backyard. 2 years ago, XL came in. I had to do some repairs to my neighbor's house, but they needed to trench into my backyard. My backyard was torn up for 2.5 months. And took, I don't know how many phone calls on my part to keep badgering them. It did finally get fixed, but it was a pretty horrendous situation to get in the middle of. Well, on the 29th of last month, I get a knock on my door Friday morning. I'm such and such with CenturyLink. I've got to run a new line through for your neighbor's new phones. Okay, fine, let him in the backyard, and he gets over to the power pole and is back there for, I don't know, 20 minutes, half an hour, and comes up, knocks on the door again. Well, I can't do this repair myself. I'm going to have to put in a temporary line and leave it. Well, do you have any idea how long? No. So I called CenturyLink up, and the nice young lady at customer service line there gave me the same thing. I have no idea how long the repair is going to take. Said, well, how about if I just go out and cut the line if it sits there too long? Said, well, sir, you're more than welcome to do that, but we will bill you for it. Came down here last week and talked to people up in the inspectors and permitting office, talked to a gentleman and a lady there who, while very sympathetic, said, well, you know, we can't get the utility companies to cooperate with us either. Then went over to the planning and community development office, and the young lady in there took my name and phone number, and I got a call back from Roy, one of the city engineers, who pretty much said the same thing. The utilities are going to do what the utilities want to do. So the temporary line to fix my neighbor's phone that he laid on the 29th is still laying in my backyard. Just so happened that afternoon I had somebody scheduled in to aerate my lawn, so I had to go out and pick up the line to get aerated underneath, and have had to go out and cut the grass once myself, which cutting the grass in my condition now isn't a whole lot of fun, but doing it going around a temporary line laying across the top of my lawn, I couldn't get any answers from anybody in the city offices upstairs, so I said, well, I'll come down and talk to the city council and see if they're resigned to the idea that the utility companies are going to do what the utility companies are going to do. Now, a day like today, I am not going to fight the general benefit of having the underground utilities, but I think that the utility companies should be a little bit more professional in how they're handling getting into someone's private property. And if I could get some help from somebody communicating that, because the people in the offices upstairs just seem resigned to the fact that that's the way it is. And, you know, I'm not a that's the way it is kind of person. I don't mind coming down and fighting. My dad was a politician back in Illinois and taught me that democracy isn't a spectator sport. You've got to be willing to get up and say something and do something when you see something wrong. If you're not going to be part of the solution, you're part of the problem. So that's about all I got to say.
Okay.
Just, you know, the utilities have to answer to somebody.
All right.
Thank you.
Points. At this point, do I have anyone who did not sign up previously would like to come forward at this time? Okay, we'll move on. Next item is a report of city officials. Mr. Tripp.
Mr. Mayor, no report this evening, thank you.
Okay. Next item is city council comments. Councils, anybody have any comments? Mr. Canberra.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to ask the gentleman from Countryside if you wouldn't mind leaving your contact information with Michelle. Do you have it? Okay, perfect. So we can follow up with you. Thank you very much. And thanks for coming. Thank you.
Any other comments? Mr. Baker.
Really, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I was also interested in the guy from Countryside, and one would think that our utilities would have alternatives, especially if it's a phone line. I don't see why it couldn't be strung on the fence and not on the man's lawn. But stringing it on his lawn is pretty goofy to me. And one would think that even the phone company themselves would see the foolishness of that and how it doesn't think. So I think there's something we should be able to do to rectify this problem. Electricity is a little more problematic, but 2.5 months, that's way excessive too. Thank you.
Any other comments from council? Young men and women in the uniform, like to tell us who you are? Yeah, that group. Come on up to the desk.
All right.
Why don't you come up to the microphone and you can introduce the group from up here.
Oh, my.
Gotta give them a lesson in public speaking tonight. It's a good thing to learn.
I think it's called be prepared.
Yes. We are from Troop 385. We meet over at the American Legion, post 1111. We are here tonight working on a citizen of the community badge, and one of our requirements was to come to a city and council meeting. We're sitting in, listening, and learning.
How about introducing yourself, guys?
There you
go. I'm Jeremy Kreger. I'm 15, and yeah, I don't know what else. I'm also a life rank, which is 1 step below Eagle, which is the highest you can see.
Hey, congratulations.
I am Hayden DeWitt. I am a 2nd class, and I'm 12 years old.
My name is Eli Hockenberry. I am 12 years old.
He just joined us.
I'm Morgan Hartman. I'm 17, and I'm a Star Scout.
I'm Eli McPherson. I am 17.
Well, thank you guys for coming tonight. We appreciate it.
See, it didn't feel like it wasn't that bad.
Next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. Is a group of routine matters to be acted on with a single motion and vote. Council has conferred prior to the meeting tonight that there are no items that they wish to have removed. So at this time, Mr. Baker, if you would.
Really, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that the City Council adopt the consent agenda, items 8A through 8C.
I have a motion. There's a second.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. And see if this works. Okay. All those in favor of the motion, please signify with a vote of your lights. Okay, motion carries on a 6-0 vote. Next item on the agenda will be item 10A. This is first reading of Councilor's Bill number 37. As soon as I can get us back to menu. There you are. Mr. Garcia.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I move to authorize the mayor to execute a revised employment agreement with Tiffany L. Cerise for her services as presiding municipal judge for 2018, with an effective date of January 1, 2018, and an automatic renewal for 2019, 2020, and 2021, unless terminated pursuant to the terms of the agreement.
I have a motion. Is there a second, Ms. Pinter?
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion by council? Okay, seeing none. Ladies and gentlemen, use your light. Motion carries on a 5-1 vote. Go ahead.
Mr. Mayor, I move to pass Councilor's Bill number 37 on first reading, setting the salary for presiding municipal judge Cerise for 2018.
Okay.
Second.
I got it. Sorry, Ms. Pinter, thank you. I have a motion and a second on the Councilor's Bill number 37. Is there any discussion by council? Okay. Light is up. Please cast your ballots.
Mr. Mayor, that's a roll call.
I'm sorry, this is a roll call. My fault.
No worries.
Go ahead.
Atchison,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Byrd,
Yes.
DeCambra,
Yes.
Garcia,
Yes.
Pinter,
Yes.
Motion carries on a 6-0 vote. Thank you, folks. All right. Moving on to item B1. This is a Human Services Board recommendation. Ms. Byrd.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I move to accept the Human Services Board recommendations and authorize payment for 2018 funding as presented to Council, which identifies the agencies that the City of Westminster will provide financial support to during fiscal year 2018 and the associated dollar amounts.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion by council? Ms. Byrd?
Oh.
Nothing? Okay. All right, there being none, we'll try this. All those in, this one is a button, yep. Okay, the lights are up. I have one more to go. Okay, nope, sometimes it takes two. All right, motion carries on a 6-0 vote. Ms. Byrd, would you take the second part of that?
Yes. I move to pass Councilor's Bill number 38 on first reading, amending the fiscal year 2018 budgets of the General Reserve, General Fund Stabilization Reserve, Utility Rate Stabilization Reserve, Utility Capital Project Reserve, Stormwater Drainage, Golf Course, Fleet Maintenance, General Capital Outlay Replacement, Sales and Use Tax, Parks, Open Space and Trails, General Capital Improvement, Conservation Trust, and Property Liability Workers' Compensation Funds.
Do I have a second on the motion?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion by council? And seeing none?
Baker,
Yes.
Byrd,
Yes.
DeCambra,
Yes.
Garcia,
Yes.
Pinter,
Yes.
Atchison.
Yes. Motion carries on a 6-0 vote. Next item is Councilor's Bill number 39. Ms. DeCambra.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move to pass Councilor's Bill number 39 on first reading, appropriating funds received from the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development Community Development Block Grant Program in the amount of $609,636.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion by council? Okay. This is a roll call vote. You are Ms. Parker.
Byrd,
Yes.
DeCambra,
Yes.
Garcia,
Yes.
Pinter,
Yes.
Atchison.
Yes.
Baker.
Yes.
Motion carries on a 6-0 vote. Okay, next item up is item 10D, Councilor's Bill number 40. Mr. Garcia.
Mr. Mayor, I move to pass Councilor's Bill number 40 on first reading, authorizing the city manager to execute and implement an economic development agreement with the Vistas at Panorama Point in a form substantially the same as the document presented to council.
Ms. DeCambra.
Second.
Okay. Council, before you vote, as a reminder, Ms. Byrd had previously asked for a recusal on this one. She has a conflict with this one, and we had previously approved that. So we will excuse Ms. Byrd from voting on this item. This is a roll call vote. Ms. Parker.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Really, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to clarify that the affordable housing prices will expire after 30 years. Am I correct in that?
The housing crisis?
Prices.
Prices, okay.
The special price for the apartments at this unit will end in 30 years.
Jenny, would you come up and?
Jenny, would you address that? I believe that's the case, Counselor, but I don't know if that's the exact term or not.
Well, I know sometimes they're 40 and sometimes they're 30.
Yes, I believe it's 30, but Neil Mendel, the developer who is more familiar with the different layers of the financing stack, could certainly come forward and articulate that as well.
Mr. Mendel, would you mind responding? Just for the record, sir, will you identify yourself?
Neil Mendel, I'm the developer of the project. This is at Panorama Point.
Thank you, sir. Can you answer the question for Mr. Baker?
I can. The affordability period typically is 30 years, but it's not unusual in this case for the affordability to continue after the fact.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
The only question you have, Bruce? Yep. Okay. All right, any other questions on this item? All right, this is also a roll call vote. Hang on just a minute. Get this there. All right. Ms. Parker.
DeCambra?
Yes.
Garcia?
Yes.
Pinter?
Yes.
Atchison?
Yes.
Baker?
No.
Byrd abstains.
Okay, I have motion carries on a 4-1, 4 yes, 1 no, and 1 abstention. Moving to resolution number 23, the 2018 City Play Plan. Ms. Pinter.
Yes, I move to adopt resolution number 23, amending the 2018 city pay plan as revised and presented to council.
Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Is there any comments or questions by council? Seeing none, this is a roll call vote. Ms. Parker.
Garcia?
Yes.
Pinter?
Yes.
Atchison?
Yes.
Baker?
Yes.
Byrd?
Yes.
DeCambra?
Yes.
And there we go. Okay. And the motion carries on a 6-0 vote. Next item is resolution number 24. Ms. Byrd.
Yes, I move to adopt resolution number 24, authorizing the Director of Community Development to pursue a 2017 Transportation Investment Generating Economic Recovery Grant from the U.S. Department of Transportation in the amount of $5 million to construct multimodal transportation improvements.
Second.
And there is an amendment to that. Do you want to read that from the city attorney?
Yes. So the language as amended, we're amending a paragraph within the resolution, and the revised language would read, "The City Council of the City of Westminster will ensure that Sheridan Boulevard between US 36th and 88th Avenue and the new underpass thereunder are maintained in a high-quality condition by intergovernmental agreement and appropriation of funds for maintenance in its annual budget."
May I ask the maker of the resolution, which is Ms. Byrd, if you will be okay with changing a little bit of the language to move the resolution 24 as amended? And you just read the amendment?
Yes.
Okay, in the second?
Yes.
Okay, so the motion is moved as amended. Is there any other comments or questions from council? Seeing none, this is also a roll call vote. Ms. Parker?
Pinter?
Yes.
Atchison?
Yes.
Baker?
Yes.
Byrd?
Yes.
DeCambra?
Yes.
Garcia?
Yes.
Okay, the motion carries on a 6-0 vote. Moving on to item F2, and Ms. Byrd, that one is also yours.
I move to authorize the mayor to certify that the City of Westminster will comply with federal wage requirements for any expenditures for the project.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second from Mr. Garcia, I think it was. Is there any comments or questions on F2, on the federal wage requirement? Well, seeing none, all those in favor, please vote with your lights. And if you're opposed, also. Motion carries on a 6-0 vote. Next item is move to authorize the city manager to renew contracts with Aetna and Kaiser Permanente. This is 10G. Council, your favor. Ms. Pinter?
Yep. Move to authorize city manager to renew contracts with Aetna and Kaiser Permanente for healthcare, Delta Dental for dental coverage, Cigna Insurance for life, long-term disability, accidental death, and dismemberment, and survivor income benefit insurances, and Compass for healthcare consumer advocacy for city employees, and authorize the continuation of a 4-tier rate structure with the employer and employee medical dental premium rates as presented.
Is there a second to the motion? Second. I have a motion and a second by Mr. Baker. Is there any discussion by council on this item, G? Seeing none, this is vote with your lights, please. And the motion carries on a 6-0 vote. Okay. Next item up is the authorization of the employment agreement with David R. Frankel. Ms. DeCambra.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move to authorize the mayor to execute a revised employment agreement with David R. Frankel for his services as city attorney for 2018 with an effective date of January 1st, 2018, and an automatic renewal for 2019 through 2022 unless terminated pursuant to the terms of the agreement.
Ms. Pinter.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Are there any questions or comments from council in regard to this motion? Seeing none, this is a vote with your lights.
Oh, we're voting.
Just vote with your lights. Okay, motion carries on a 5-1 vote. Next item is 10I, and this is a contract with Nexus Corporation. Would somebody like to take this one? Mr. Baker, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move to determine, based on the recommendation of the city manager, that the public interest would best be served by entering into a purchase agreement with Nexus Corporation as a sole source for a greenhouse kit in the amount of $177,125, and to authorize a contingency in the amount of $8,856 for a total authorized expenditure with this firm not to exceed $185,981.
Mr. Canberra?
Second.
Okay, is there any questions or comments from the council? Mr. Baker? None? Okay. Fine. All right, this is also a vote with your light, please. And the motion carries on a 6-0 vote. Next item on the agenda is item 11A. This is Councilor's Bill number 17, second reading. Ms. Pinter.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I move to pass Councilor's Bill number 17 on second reading, authorizing the city manager to execute a finance agreement with Ascent Westminster, an affiliate of Sherman Associates, Inc., and the Westminster Economic Development Authority in substantially the same form as presented to council for the development of the B1C1 block in downtown Westminster.
Ms. Byrd?
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion by council? Seeing none, this is a roll call vote. Ms. Parker?
Atchison.
Yes.
Baker.
No.
Byrd.
Yes.
DeCambra.
Yes.
Garcia.
Yes.
Pinter.
Yes.
Motion carries on a 5-1 vote. Ladies and gentlemen, as far as the city council is done, we are done for tonight, but we are not done as other authorities. So if you will bear with us for a couple of minutes while we get changed into our other clothes. We will now reconvene under the same roll call as previously considered as the Westminster Economic Development Authority Board of Directors. Roll call will stand as previously done. And the first item up, as soon as I can get our piece back up here, there we go. Mr. Garcia.
Oh, no, it's still on. Mr. Chairman, I move the board approve the minutes of the September 25th, 2017 meeting as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by your voice of aye or nay.
Aye.
Aye.
Nay. Motion carries. First item on the agenda is adoption of resolution number 177. Mr. Canberra.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move to adopt resolution number 177, authorizing the executive director to execute the finance agreement with Ascent Westminster, an affiliate of Sherman Associates, Inc., and the City of Westminster in substantially the same form as attached for the development of the B1C1 block in downtown Westminster.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion by the authority? Seeing none, this is a roll call vote. Ms. Parker, if you will, please.
Baker.
No.
Byrd. Yes.
Vote. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the business of the Westminster Economic Development Authority for tonight. That board is now adjourned, and the city will now re-adjourn as the General Improvement District Board of Directors for the next 30 items. We're close to it. Ladies and gentlemen, on your agenda as the General Improvement District Board of Directors is item 2A. Ms. Byrd?
Yes, I move that the board approve the minutes of the October 10th, 2016 meeting of the 136th Avenue General Improvement District as presented.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on item 2A? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is carried. The minutes are approved. Moving on to item 2B. Ms. Pinter.
Oh.
Your lights on.
Yeah, I left it on from the saying of the aye. I just was going to concede to Shannon to carry this whole package. All right. I move that the board approve the minutes of the October 10th, 2016 meeting of the 144th Avenue General Improvement District as presented.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion is carried. Moving on to item 2C. Mr. Canberra.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that the board approve the minutes of the October 10th, 2016 meeting of the Amherst General Improvement District as presented.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion is carried. Moving on to item 2D. Mr. Garcia.
I move that the board approve the minutes of the October 10th, 2016 meeting of the Mandalay Town Center General Improvement District as presented.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor of item 2D, please signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion is carried. Moving on to item 2E. Ms. Pinter?
Yes, I move the board approve the minutes of the October 10th, 2016 meeting of the Orchard Park Place North General Improvement District as presented.
Second.
Motion and a second has been approved. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion is carried. Moving on to 2F. Mr. Garcia?
I move that the board approve the minutes of the October 10th, 2016 meeting of the Park 1200 General Improvement District as presented.
Is there a second? There's a motion and a second. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion is carried. Moving on to item 2G.
I move that the board approve the minutes of the October 10, 2016 meeting of the Sheridan Crossing General Improvement District as presented.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor of item 2G, please signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion is carried. Now, moving on to item 3A. At this time, we will hold a public hearing on the 2018 budgets for the following City of Westminster General Improvement Districts: 136th Avenue, 144th Avenue, Amherst, Mandalay Town Center, Orchard Park Place North, Park 1200, and Sheridan Crossing. Staff, does you have any presentations at this time?
No, sir.
No presentations. This time I will open up the open up the hearing to the public to see if they have any comments on any of the identified general improvement districts. You guys keep this up, yeah, might beat midnight. Okay. Having no public comment coming forward, I will close the public hearing and note that there was no comments provided by either staff or the public. The first item is to adopt tonight is resolution number 22. Ms. Byrd?
I move to adopt resolution number 22 that sets the mill levy for the tax year 2017 for collection in 2018 at 16 mills for the City of Westminster, 136th Avenue General Improvement District, formally adopts the 2018 budget for the district as presented, and appropriates the funds as budgeted.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Are there any discussions on the resolution number 22? Okay, seeing none, this is a roll call vote. Ms. Parker?
Byrd.
Yes.
DeCambra.
Yes.
Garcia.
Yes.
Pinter.
Yes.
Atchison.
Yes.
Baker.
Yes.
Motion carries on a 6-0 vote. Okay. Ms. Pinter, if you would, please, resolution number 15.
Yes, I move to adopt resolution number 15 that sets the mill levy for the tax year of 2017 for collecting in 2018 at 20 mills for the City of Westminster, 144th Avenue General Improvement District, and formally adopts the 2018 budget for the district and appropriates the funds as budgeted.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion by council? And I apologize, I keep saying council, and it's the board of directors. Seeing none, Ms. Parker?
DeCambra.
Yes.
Garcia.
Yes.
Pinter.
Yes.
Atchison.
Yes.
Baker.
Yes.
Byrd.
Yes.
Motion passes on a 6-0 vote. Mr. Garcia, resolution 37, please.
I move to adopt resolution number 37 that sets the mill levy for the tax year 2017 for collection in 2018 at 5 mills for the City of Westminster Amherst General Improvement District, formally adopts the 2018 budget for the district as presented, and appropriates the funds as budgeted.
Second.
There's a motion and a second for resolution number 37. Is any discussion by council? Again, a roll call vote. Ms. Parker?
Garcia.
Yes.
Pinter.
Yes.
Atchison.
Yes.
Baker.
Yes.
Byrd.
Yes.
DeCambra.
Yes.
Motion carries also on a 6-0 vote. Next item is resolution number 21. As soon as I can get back over there, Mr. Canberra.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move to adopt resolution number 2021 that sets the mill levy for the tax year 2017 for collecting in 2018 at 35 mills for the City of Westminster Mandalay Town Center General Improvement District, formally adopts the 2018 budget for the district as presented, and appropriates the funds as budgeted.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on resolution number 21 by the board? Again, it's a roll call vote. Ms. Parker?
Pinter.
Yes.
Atchison.
Yes.
Baker.
Yes.
Byrd.
Yes.
DeCambra.
Yes.
Garcia.
Yes.
Motion carries also on a 6-0 vote. Next item is resolution number 10. If I can get back to the main menu. And who's up? I know somebody. Well, Mr. Canberra, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move to adopt resolution number 10 that sets the mill levy for the tax year 2017 for collection in 2018 at 13 mills for the Westminster Orchard Park Place North General Improvement District, formally adopts the 2018 budget for the district as presented, and appropriates the funds as budgeted.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion by any member of the board? Hearing none, this is also a roll call vote. Ms. Parker?
Atchison.
Yes.
Baker.
Yes.
Byrd.
Yes.
DeCambra.
Yes.
Garcia.
Yes.
Pinter.
Yes.
Motion carries also on a 6-0 vote. Next item is resolution number 4. Ms. Pinter?
I move to adopt resolution number 4 that sets the mill levy for the tax year 2017 for collection in 2018 at 10 mills for the City of Westminster Park 1200 General Improvement District, formally adopts the 2018 budget for the district as presented, and appropriates the funds as budgeted.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for resolution number 4. Is there any discussion by any member of the board? Seeing none, this is also a roll call vote. Ms. Parker?
Baker.
Yes.
Byrd.
Yes.
DeCambra.
Yes.
Garcia.
Yes.
Pinter.
Yes.
Atchison.
Yes. Motion carries on a 6-0 vote. Mr. Garcia, if you would, resolution number 34.
I move to adopt resolution number 34 that sets the mill levy for the tax year 2017 for collection in 2018 to 12 mills for the City of Westminster Sheridan Crossing General Improvement District, formally adopts the 2018 budget for the district as presented, and appropriates the funds as budgeted.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion by any member of the board? Ms. Bird, did you have an item? No. Okay. Mark. This is a roll call vote as well. Ms. Parker?
Bird.
Yes.
DeCambra.
Yes.
Garcia.
Yes.
Pinter.
Yes.
Atchison.
Yes.
Baker.
Yes.
Motion carries on a 6-0 vote. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes not only the Westminster Public meeting for the Westminster City Council, the Westminster Economic Development Authority, and the General Improvement District Authority Board. We are adjourned, except City Council still has one executive session left.
And a presentation.
And a presentation, yep. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, take about a 5-minute break and then we'll reconvene in the ante room.